What do you do when your girlfriend comes back? As a killer robot? Sounds like the setup for a wild sci-fi thriller, right? Well, buckle up because today we're diving into Annihilator, a bizarre yet fascinating made-for-TV sci-fi movie from 1986 that blends romance, conspiracy, and murderous androids in a way only the 80s could deliver. Welcome back to the Shane Tennant YouTube channel, where we journey through the weird, wonderful, and often overlooked worlds of retro sci-fi, fantasy, and anime. If you're into nostalgic hidden gems and cult classics, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more deep dives into these incredible genres. So, what's Annihilator all about? This made-for-TV gem aired in 1986, and while it might not have the big-budget flair of the Terminator, it offers its own quirky charm. The story follows Richard Armour, played by Mark Lindsay Chapman, a newspaper reporter whose life takes a sharp turn into chaos when his girlfriend, Angela, mysteriously disappears during a business trip. When she reappears days later, something is off. She looks like Angela, talks like Angela, but there's just one problem. She's not Angela. She's been replaced by a killer robot. And it's not just her. Richard stumbles into a massive conspiracy involving cyborg clones, a secret government organization, and a shadowy alien threat. The more he uncovers, the more the lines between human and machine blur, leaving him questioning who to trust and how to survive. Let's talk about the characters. Richard's a classic 80s protagonist, the everyman hero thrust into extraordinary circumstances. Mark Lindsay Chapman does a solid job portraying a man both terrified and determined to unravel the mystery surrounding him. But the real standout? Lisa Blount as Angela, or rather Angela's robotic doppelganger. Blount's performance is eerie and compelling, nailing that uncanny balance between human and machine. One moment she's sweet and affectionate, and the next she's a cold, unstoppable force. The villainous robots, or replacements as they're called, are surprisingly effective. Sure, they're a bit campy by today's standards, but their stoic demeanor and brutal efficiency give the movie a chilling edge. They're not flashy like the Terminator, but their subtle menace works well within the movie's budget constraints. The plot of Annihilator is a mix of sci-fi paranoia and action thriller tropes. Imagine Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets the Stepford Wives, but with killer robots. The idea of loved ones being replaced by machines taps into some pretty universal fears: losing agency, identity, and the people you care about most. And while the movie has its fair share of cheesy dialogue and predictable twists, it manages to keep you engaged with its fast-paced narrative and over-the-top action sequences. One of the most entertaining aspects of the film is how Richard gradually transformed from a skeptical journalist into a full-on action hero. The stakes constantly escalate as he fights to expose the truth and take down the sinister organization behind the replacements. Okay, we need to talk about the special effects. Let's be honest, this is a made-for-TV movie, so don't expect Star Wars or Blade Runner levels of polish. But what it lacks in budget, it makes up for in charm. The glowing red eyes of the replacements, the sparking malfunctions, and the occasional clunky animatronics all scream 80s sci-fi goodness. It's campy, sure, but it somehow works perfectly within the movie's tone. One of the most intriguing aspects of Annihilator is its underlying theme of paranoia. The 1980s were a time when technology was advancing rapidly, and movies like this reflected society's anxieties about losing control to machines. The idea of loved ones being replaced by cold, unfeeling copies is unsettling, and Annihilator leans heavily into that fear. While the movie might not explore these themes as deeply as something like Blade Runner, it still offers some food for thought. Despite its intriguing premise and entertaining execution, Annihilator has largely been forgotten over the years. It didn't have a theatrical release, and being a TV movie, it flew under the radar for most audiences. But for fans of retro sci-fi, it's a hidden gem worth seeking out. It's not perfect, the pacing can feel rushed, and some of the writing is a bit clunky, but it's got heart, creativity, and that distinct 80s charm that keeps you coming back for more. So why should you watch Annihilator? If you're a fan of 80s sci-fi and you love discovering forgotten pieces of the genre's history, this movie is a must-watch. It's got killer robots, government conspiracies, and enough camp to keep you thoroughly entertained. Plus, it's a fascinating glimpse into the era's low-budget filmmaking and the ways directors worked around limited resources to tell compelling stories. That's it for today's deep dive into Annihilator. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to join me for more adventures into retro sci-fi, fantasy, and anime. Have you seen Annihilator? What are your thoughts on its killer robot premise? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the incredible worlds of retro sci-fi and beyond. See you soon!
Imagine if a strange force attacked your city. Imagine if its power possessed the woman you love. Move over, Terminator. Here comes the Annihilator. Monday.